Hello everyone. Uh, in this lecture, we have to discuss about anatomy and physiology of heart. Okay, along with their working mechanism. As we know that the heart is a muscular organ that acts like a pump to continuously send blood throughout your body, and the heart is at the center of the circulatory system, and this system consists of a network of blood vessels like arteries, veins, capillaries, and these blood vessels carry blood to and from all area of the body. Okay. These are the learning objective of today's lecture. To state the position of heart, their size and shape, and to identify the chamber of heart, to identify the circulatory system, and to state the anatomy of heart wall, and to identify the coronary arteries, and to state the properties of cardiac muscles, along with identify the conduction system of blood vascular system, and to understand about cardiac cycle. So this is structure of heart. Okay, and we know that an electrical system regulates the heart and uses electrical signals to contract the heart walls. When the walls contract, blood is pumped into the circulatory system, and a system of inlet and outlet valve in the heart chamber work to ensure that blood flow in the right direction. Okay, and the heart is vital to your health, and nearly everything that goes on your body. Without the heart pumping action, the blood can't circulate within the body. As you know that blood carries oxygen and transport carbon dioxide along with nutrients that your organs or cells or tissue need to work normally, and blood also carry wastage of metabolism that carried in your body, and to your lungs to be passed out of the body and into the air in the form of carbon dioxide, and a healthy heart supplies the area of the body with the right amount of blood at the rate needed to work normally. If disease or injury weaken the heart, the body organ will not receive enough blood to work normally. Okay, so that's why you have to see that in this figure there is heart divided into the left and right side by partition called septa, okay, or septum, and the interarterial septum separate the two chamber or two upper chamber, which is called atria or atrium, and the interventricular septum that separate the two lower chamber of heart, which is called ventricles. Okay. So, as we know that the heart is a muscular organ that act like a pump to continuously send blood throughout your body, and the heart is at the center of a circulatory system, and this system consists of a network of blood vessels such as arteries, veins, capillaries, and these blood vessels carry blood to and from all area of your body. Okay. And if we talk about the location of heart, so a heart located underneath the septum, as you have to see in this figure, in a thoracic compartment, which is called the mediastinum, okay, which occupies the space between the lungs, and it is approximately the size of 250 to 350 grams, and is shaped like a inverted cone, and the narrow end of the heart is called the apex, and it is directed downward and to the left and lies just above the arc of diaphragm and approximate level of the fifth or sixth rib, and the broad end of the heart is called the base. Okay, and base gives rise to the major blood vessel, which is directed upward and to the right and lies at the approximate level of the second rib, and heart surrounding the fibrous sac-like structure, which is called pericardium. And this pericardium perform several functions. Okay, pericardium is the wall of heart, and fluid within the sac lubricates the outer wall of the heart, and it can beat without causing friction. Uh, it also holds the heart in place from a barrier against infection and help keep the heart from over expanding. Okay, and this layer, uh, pericardium, which is made up of coronal section, and this coronal section comprise of two walls and a thin intervening space, and the outer wall is thickest and consists of tissue layer, which comprise again external layer, which is formed by dense irregular connective tissue, and which is called fibrous pericardium. And this fibrous pericardium layer protects the heart and anchors it to nearby organs. Okay, so this figure shows the what is the location of heart, and at the root of the major blood vessels, the parietal pericardium reflect back over the surface of the heart to form the inner wall of pericardium, uh, which is called visceral pericardium, because it is the outer layer of heart wall, and the visceral pericardium is referred to as the epicardium, and together the parietal and visceral pericardial layer, it is called serous pericardium. Okay, so this is a layer of heart pericardium, and between the walls of the serous pericardium is the pericardial cavity, and the narrow space is normally filled with a few millimeter of pericardial fluid, which is secreted by the membrane or inner membrane, and the fluid reduce friction between membrane as they glide past one another during heartbeat. That's why the heart wall is composed of three tissue layers that covering the outer surface of the heart is epicardium, and it is also referred to as the visceral pericardium, and which is the innermost layer of the pericardium, and the epicardium is a serous membrane that consists of external layer of simple squamous epithelium and inner layer of loose connective tissue, and the squamous cells secrete lubricating fluid into the pericardial cavity, and the thick middle layer of the heart wall is called myocardium, and it consists of numerous layer of cardiac muscle fiber that wrapped around the heart wall, and contraction of the myocardium pump blood out of the heart into the aorta and pulmonary trunk arteries, and covering the outer surface of the heart wall is the endocardium, and this layer also covers the heart wall and tendons and continuous with the endothelium that lies in the major blood vessels that attach to the heart, and the endocardium is made up of thin layer of simple squamous cells and loose connective tissue similar to the epicardium, and secretions from the squamous cells help regulate the activity of myocardium. So heart, if we talk about the heart, so heart chambers has valves. So the human heart has four chambers, which are responsible for pumping blood and maintaining blood circulation throughout the body. And these are called right atrium and left atrium. Okay, these are the upper chamber, and right ventricle and left ventricle. These are the lower chamber of heart, and blood is only pumped to one unique direction. And four heart walls ensure that blood does not flow backward within the heart. Okay, so we have to see that the heart is made up of four chambers. The superior chamber consists of the right atrium and the left atrium, which located primarily on the posterior side of the heart and extending anteriorly from each thin-walled atrium is a small ear-shaped appendages called auricle, and this auricle expand the volume of heart chamber. And when the blood drain into the atria from the pulmonary and systemic circulatory system, as the body has two circulatory system, uh, pulmonary circulatory system and systemic circulatory system, and composing the lower chamber are the right ventricle and left ventricle, which are much larger than atria. Okay, and the right ventricle pumps blood through the pulmonary circulatory system, and the thicker walled left ventricle pump blood through the longer systemic circulatory system. And internally the two ventricles are separated by a thick myocardial wall called the interventricular septum. Okay, and on the anterior surface of heart, the interventricular septum is marked by a shallow diagonal groove, which is called anterior interventricular groove. Okay, or sulcus. Okay, SULCUS. This is another name of groove, which is occupied the anterior interventricular artery and great cardiac veins and adipose tissue. And on the posterior surface of the heart, the ventricles are separated by the posterior interventricular sulcus or groove, which contains the posterior interior artery and middle cardiac veins and adipose tissue. So, as we have to discuss that heart consists of four layer, okay, and the endocardium, which is formed by endothelial cells, and it lines the interior of the heart chambers and wall. Okay, this is the inner layer, and the myocardium is the muscular middle layer that composed of cardiac muscles. Okay, and the epicardium is formed by epithelial cells, and it is outer cell layer of the heart, and pericardium is a membranous sac that surrounded the heart, and this layer consists of visceral pericardium and parietal pericardium. Okay, and the space between these two layers, that is visceral pericardium and parietal pericardium, is called pericardial cavity. Okay, and it has pericardial fluid that's secreted by the squamous epithelium of the visceral pericardium. Now the function of heart. Okay, so as we know that the major vessels of the heart are the large arteries and veins that attach to the atria, ventricle, and transport blood to and from the systemic circulatory system and pulmonary circulatory system, and blood is delivered to the right atrium from the systemic circulatory system by two veins, and the superior vena cava that transport oxygen depleted blood from the upper extremities. Okay, and the inferior vena cava transport oxygen depleted blood from the lower extremities. Okay, so upper extremities like head, neck, and lower extremities like thorax, abdomen. Okay, and blood exists the right ventricle through the pulmonary trunk artery and approximately 2 inches superior to the base of the heart. This vessel branches into the left and right pulmonary artery. Okay, and these right and left pulmonary artery transport blood into the lungs. Okay, so pulmonary artery trans blood into the lungs. Okay, and the left pulmonary veins and right pulmonary veins return oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium. Okay, so oxygenated blood enter heart through the left atrium. Okay, and blood passes from the left atrium into the left ventricle. Okay, so first it enter into the left atrium, that it enter into the left ventricle, then it's pumped into the systemic circulatory system through a large elastic artery which is called aorta. Okay, so as you know that the heart function to circulate blood around the body, and the right and left side of the heart pump blood into two different circulation. Okay, which of one, the pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. Okay, and the right side pumps deoxygenated blood and into the pulmonary circulation, while the left side pump oxygenated blood into the systemic circulation. Okay, that's why in the mammals or higher vertebrate there is the term used double circulation. Okay, so the right atrium receive deoxygenated blood from the body tissue via the superior and inferior vena cava. Okay, and the blood enter right atrium, which pump the blood into the right ventricle. And here there is a valve present which is called tricuspid valve, and this tricuspid valve prevent blood from flowing backward into the right atrium, and the right ventricle pump the blood into the pulmonary artery via the pulmonary valve. Okay, so now the wall of heart. Okay, so there is four valves are present that maintain the unidirectional flow of blood through the heart, and the valves are located between atrium and ventricle and into the two arteries that empty blood from the ventricle. And these valves are primarily composed of fibrous connective tissue, and this fibrous connective tissue originate and extended from the heart walls, and the external surface of the walls are covered by endocardium, and this wall named, the first one is the tricuspid valve or right atrioventricular valve. Okay, and this tricuspid valve composed of three caps or flaps that control blood flow from the right atrium to the right ventricle. Okay, so this is tricuspid valve, and another is the bicuspid valve. Okay, and why this name is given, because this valve composed of two cusp or flaps. Okay, that control blood flow from the left atrium to the left ventricle, And the term mitral valve is also applied because the left atrioventricular valve is shaped somewhat like a bishop mitral. Okay, so sometimes it is named mitral valve. Okay, for the tricuspid valve. And a thin tendon-like cord called chordae tendineae connect the atrioventricular valve or tricuspid valve to cone-shaped papillary muscles that extend upward from the myocardium, and the chordae tendineae and papillary muscles are together the atrioventricular valve or tricuspid valve to the ventricular walls, and this allow the valve to close properly and not bulges, okay, into the atria. Okay, so these are the muscles that help closing properly, okay, while maintain unidirectional flow. This is called chordae tendineae, okay, and capillary muscles. And another valve is a semilunar valve. Okay, and this semilunar valve direct blood flow from the ventricles into the aorta and pulmonary trunk artery, and the valves are located in the vessels just above the opening to the ventricle. And this semilunar valve consists of three cusps, okay, or flaps that curve upward to form a small pocket. Okay, so the heart valves open and close in response to the pressure changes that occur in the ventricles during each cardiac cycle. And when the ventricles relax, their pressure drops below those of the atria, pulmonary trunk artery, and aorta. And this allow the atrioventricular valve to open as their cusp passively drop downward, and the pressure change additionally permit blood to flow into the ventricle from the atria without restriction. And the semilunar valve closed during the same period as blood flowing toward the ventricles that collects in the pocket of the cusp or flaps. And closure of semilunar valve prevent blood from re-entering the ventricles while they are relaxing. And after the filling with blood, the ventricles contract, and their rising pressure forces blood upward and toward the atria and into the pulmonary trunk and aorta. And blood pushing upward the cusp causes the atrioventricular valve to close. As a consequence, the blood enters the atria from the pulmonary veins, but not from the ventricles. And at the same time, rising pressure in pulmonary trunk artery and aorta forces the semilunar valve to open and blood flow into the systemic and pulmonary circulatory system. So when these ventricles begin to relax, pressure in the chambers drop again, and a new cardiac cycle begins. Okay, so that's why it is very important that to maintain unidirectional flow, these valves are present. Okay, so you need to remember their name, okay, and their location. Okay, so tricuspid valve located between right atrium and ventricle, and pulmonary valve located between right ventricle and pulmonary artery. Okay, and it is also called semilunar valve. And mitral valve or bicuspid valve located between left atrium and ventricle, and aortic valve located left ventricle and aorta. And the tricuspid and bicuspid valve, also called atrioventricular valves. Okay, because they control the blood flow between atrium and ventricles. So the pulmonary artery will deliver the deoxygenated blood toward the lungs, where gas exchange occur. And when the oxygen is taken up from the air into the blood, now the term use oxygenated blood. Okay, and the carbon dioxide is expelled out from the blood into the air, and the oxygenated blood return to the left side of the heart via the pulmonary veins. Okay, so the pulmonary veins carry oxygenated blood. Okay, while a pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood. Okay, so do not confuse with the name of artery and veins. Okay, so the oxygenated blood enters the left atrium. Okay, and the left atrium pumps blood or oxygenated blood into the left ventricle, and here the mitral valve prevent blood flow from backward into the left atrium. Therefore, the left atrium, left ventricle pumps the blood into the aorta and the systemic circulation, and the oxygenated blood is delivered everywhere in the body. Okay, so in this figure you have to see that the both circulation, the pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. Okay, so blood circulates around the body via two distinct pathways: the pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. Okay, so together they create a closed pathway that keeps the deoxygenated and oxygenated blood separate. Okay, you have to see that in this figure the oxygenated blood are flow in different chambers, and and the deoxygenated blood flow in the different chamber. Okay, so this is called double circulation. Okay, so as you have to see that the heart receive nutrients and gases from its own set of arteries, veins, capillaries. Okay, which is called coronary circulatory system, and blood enters the coronary circulatory system through the left coronary artery and the right coronary artery, which exits the aorta just above the cusp of the semilunar valve. Okay, and after running a short distance between the pulmonary trunk artery and left ventricle, the left coronary artery emerges onto the anterior surface of the heart, and near this point it branches into the anterior interventricular artery. Okay, or left anterior descending artery, and the left circumflex artery, and the anterior interventricular artery located in the anterior interventricular sulcus or groove that give off branches that supply blood to the anterior ventricles and anterior interventricular septum, and the left circumflex artery runs along the coronary sulcus that located between the left atrium and ventricle to the posterior side of heart, where it usually end in an anastomosis with the right coronary artery and one or more left marginal artery, typically branch off from the left circumflex artery as it travels around the heart, and the left circumflex artery and its branches supply blood to the left atrium and the lateral and posterior portion of the left ventricles, and the right coronary artery travel along the coronary sulcus. Okay, that lies between the right atrium and ventricles, where it typically give off smaller branches to the right atrium, and there is another point is there, that is AV node and SA node. and the larger right marginal artery also diverges from the right coronary artery as it continues around the heart. So the right marginal artery supply blood to the lateral wall of right ventricle, and on the posterior surface of the heart, the right coronary artery typically give rise to the posterior interventricular artery or posterior descending artery that runs along the posterior interventricular sulcus and the posterior interventricular septum. Okay. And if we talk about the coronary veins, so after flowing through the myocardium, most of the deoxygenated blood is returned to the right atrium by several prominent veins that runs along the surface of heart, and these veins draining blood from the anterior ventricles is the great cardiac veins, and this vessel originates at the apex of the heart, okay, and runs superiorly along the anterior interventricular sulcus, okay, which is located next to the anterior interventricular artery near the right atrium, and the great cardiac veins to the left and enter the coronary sulcus, where it extends to the back side of the heart, and one or more left marginal veins typically merge with the great cardiac veins as it traverses the lateral ventricular wall, and small anterior cardiac veins also drain blood from the anterior right ventricle directly into the right atrium, and blood is removed from the lateral and posterior right ventricle by the small cardiac veins, which travel to the posterior surface of the heart in the coronary sulcus. And along its path, the small cardiac veins receive blood from the one or more right marginal veins and one of the posterior side of the heart, the great and small cardiac veins that merge with the coronary sinus, and which empties into the right atrium. So the coronary sinus also receives blood from the middle cardiac veins that extend along the posterior interventricular groove and the posterior vein of the left ventricle. So this figure clearly indicates that the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood cannot mix together. So, if we talk about the pulmonary circulation, so the pulmonary circulation begins at the right ventricle, where the deoxygenated blood from the body tissue is pumped into the pulmonary artery and toward the lungs. And in the lungs, the blood exchange carbon dioxide, and that is the waste product of cellular respiration in the mitochondria to the oxygen, and the oxygenated blood then travel back to the heart and the left atrium via the pulmonary veins. Okay, and the systemic circulation begins at the left ventricle that pumps oxygenated blood into the aorta. Okay, this one is aorta, and aorta branches out into the smaller artery which carry the oxygenated blood to the rest of the body, with the exception of lungs. And oxygen is delivered to the body tissue and exchanged to the carbon dioxide. Now the deoxygenated blood is carried back toward the heart and the right atrium via veins. Okay. So what is the difference between arteries and veins? Okay. So the blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart is called arteries, and the blood vessels that carry blood toward the heart is called veins. So only in the systemic circulation, artery carry oxygenated blood, while in the pulmonary circulation, artery carry deoxygenated blood. Okay. Now the contraction of muscular walls of the heart chamber called myocardium that generate the force to pump blood, and the heart contraction is divided into the two phases, that is systole that is called contraction, and diastole, in which the relaxation has to take place, and blood is pumped from the chambers during a contraction phase, and the heart chamber are filled with blood during a relaxation phase. So this is cardiac muscle tissue that form uh, myocardium. Okay, so the cardiac muscle cells make up the myocardium portion of the heart wall, and they are relatively short branched fiber that measured approximately 10 to 20 micrometer in diameter and 50 to 100 micrometer in length. And typically, each cardiac myocyte contains a single nucleus, which is centrally positioned, and thick and thin myofilament are present into myofibril, and their overlap arrangement create a dark and light band or striation. So similar, like you have to observe in the skeletal muscle, and sarcoplasmic reticulum tubules surround the myofibrils. However, they are not well organized and do not have terminal cisternae, and tubule are also present, but run along the jet disc, and the mitochondria in the cardiac myocytes are large and numerous, and they supply the ATP needed for repeated contraction of the heart. So, as you know that like other types of muscles, the cardiomyocytes are joined end to end by intercalated disc. Okay, and these complex, highly convoluted couplings that contain both anchoring junction and electrical junction. That forming the anchoring junction are fascia adherens and desmosome, which attach to the adjacent myocyte, and the electrical junction are composed of connexins, protein channel, which usually in clusters referred to as gap junction. Okay, and connexins protein span the distance between adjacent plasma membrane and ions that can travel through the channel pore, and the ion movement allows action potential to pass directly from cell to cell, and this property makes the entire myocardium act like a single cell. Okay, so one round of the heart contraction can be divided into the following phase. Okay, relaxation phase, arterial systole, the ventricular systole, and ventricular diastole. Okay, so relaxation phase has blood flows from the atria into the ventricles that passively via open atrioventricular valve, and the atrial systole, while the contraction of atria take place, and pumps the rest of the blood into the ventricles. And now the ventricular systole, um, uh, contraction of ventricles occur while it force blood into the pulmonary and systemic circulation. And during the ventricular systole, the atria relax and begins to fill with blood that arriving from vena cava or pulmonary veins, and then ventricular diastole, the ventricles and atria are relaxed. Okay, so this is various phase of cardiac cycle. Okay, so as you know that the conductive system of the heart consists of cardiac muscles, okay, and conducting fibers that are specialized for initiating impulse and conducting them rapidly through the heart, and they initiate the normal cardiac cycle and coordinate the contraction of cardiac chamber. Okay, and the conducting system provide the heart its autonomic rhythmic beat for the heart to pump efficiently and the systemic and pulmonary circulation to operate in synchrony. So the event in the cardiac cycle must be coordinated. Okay. So the ASA node. Sinoatrial node is a spindle-shaped structure that composed of fibrous tissue matrix with closely packed cells. It is 10 to 20 mm long, thick, narrow, that point toward the inferior vena cava, and this SN node located less than 1 mm from the epicardial surface, laterally in the right atrial sulcus terminal at the right junction of the anteromedial aspect of superior vena cava. Okay, this helps to regulate the cardiac cycle. Okay, and another a bundle of his also helps to regulate cardiac cycle, and Purkinje fiber, okay, also helps in the cardiac cycle. Okay, so the cardiac cycle is the sequence of events that occur when the heart beats, and the cycle has two main phases: diastole, okay, and systole. Okay, so when the blood enters the right atrium of the heart from the superior and inferior vena cava and flows across the tricuspid valve into the right ventricles. From the right ventricle, the blood flows in to the pulmonary artery, which is separated from the ventricles by the pulmonary valve. Okay, and after oxygenation in the lungs, blood returns to the heart via four pulmonary veins that enter the left atrium. From the left atrium, blood flow across the mitral valve and into the left ventricle. And from the left ventricle, blood is ejected across the aortic valve into the aorta. And together, the mitral and tricuspid valve. Okay, the term used atrioventricular valve, and the aortic and pulmonary valve is the semilunar valve. Okay, so these are the two major terms: mitral valve, atrioventricular valve, and semilunar valve. Okay, so so the cardiac cycle is due to the blood movement as a result of pressure difference within the chamber of heart. Okay, so in order to blood to flow through a blood vessel or through a heart wall, there must be force acting on the blood, and this force is provided by the difference in blood pressure across this structure by the contraction of the heart. And each heartbeat or cardiac cycle is divided into the two phases of contraction and relaxation. Okay, so this is a cardiac cycle. Okay, and in this figure you can see that various phases of cardiac cycle often are different signal. Okay, so an electrical impulse travels from the sinoatrial node to the wall of the atria, causing them to contract. Okay, first phase. Then the impulse reaches the atrioventricular node, which will delay it by about zero point 0.1 second. Okay. Then a bundle of these branches carry signal from the atrioventricular node to the heart apex, and then the signal is spread through the ventricle wall, causing them to contract. Okay, so this cycle repeat again and again, and sinoatrial node. Myocardium contact after the receive an electrical impulse generated by a specialized tissue located within the right atrium. This is called sinoatrial node, and uh, and this is also called pacemaker of the heart. And the SA node is a bundle of neurons that trigger the contraction of the atria during the cardiac cycle. And the electrical current next reaches the ventricles, which contract after the atria. And the SA node initiates approximately 75 electrical impulse each minute, with variations between individuals' age and general health. And Purkinje fiber. So the Purkinje fiber are cells in the inner ventricle wall just beneath the endocardium, and this fiber run between the ventricles to the apex of the heart, and the Purkinje fiber play a crucial role in the cardiac cycle. Okay, so this is also important part of the heart to maintain a cardiac cycle. Okay, and while we have to taking ECG, okay, we have to obtain PQRS and T system. Okay, this is electrocardiogram. Okay, so this instrument record the electrical activity of heart, in which we obtain the P wave, okay, QRS, okay, and T wave. So P wave correlate to the atrial depolarization and atrial contraction, okay, and QRS correlate to the ventricular depolarization and ventricles contract, and T wave correlate to the ventricular repolarization. Okay, so this kind of wave observed while the ECG. Okay, if there is a different shape observed during the ECG, this shows that there is any problem in the cardiac cycle. Okay, P wave and T wave and QRS complex. Okay, in addition to PR interval and ST segment. Okay, so this kind of wave shows the healthy heart. This is the references. Now you have to attempt a quiz. The first question is a septum that separate the two upper chamber is called, okay, the interarterial septum. Okay, so the septum that separates the upper chamber or artery chamber, which is called interatrial septum, and interventricular septum separate the two lower chamber, which is called ventricle. Okay, so this is called interventricular septum. Okay, which is separate the ventricles. And the heart wall consists of layer. You know that endocardium, myocardium, epicardium, pericardium. Okay, all four layers consist of heart wall. And wall located between right atrium and ventricle. It is called tricuspid wall. Okay, and the wall then located between right ventricle and pulmonary artery. This is called pulmonary valve, and the wave that correlate to the atrial depolarization and atrial contraction, it is called P wave. Okay, so thank you.